do that.
That's awesome. So you guys are going to unplug on the beach, tiny home style, which is awesome. Like I love the minimalist. I really do. I'm a big fan of minimalism. And I don't practice it every way I can, but when you have kids, that just means there's a little bit more stuff. But I would say we practice pretty well, and it's just like peaceful.
Yeah, I agree.
So how long are you guys gonna vacay?
I don't know. Probably end of the week, next week, and just kind of take a few days out there and just hang out. They've got, they're in sports, they're in, different programs. So it's kind of scheduling, everything within there to make it work. But
of course. Well, that's good. That's awesome to be able to be flexible on that and not have to be rigid with it. That's also part of like the joy of like, oh, cool. We don't have to plan all this out.
Right. Like,
as a great planner yourself, it makes sense.
Right.
Like, okay, cool. To be able to pull back on that. You're not the OCD stuck in go mode all the time.
No. And I laugh because it's like, I come home after a day of planning and coordinating and operations, and I come home and I'm like, dinner. I got nothing left, right? Like, I don't even know. Let's just go see what's in the fridge and we'll go do that, right? So it's so funny that I need to disconnect.
Yes. Oh, that's for kids too. Everybody's got different appetites, different things they want. And so it's helpful to accommodate and learn some cooking skills to do it, at least in my case. So all right. So what 3 resources do you recommend for other visionaries out there?
So I am a lifelong learner. I am a total book nerd. And so I think I read about 2 to 3 books a week, and I've done that for decades now. So you asking me for
reading 4 books a week?
Yeah. I'm like that much of a nerd.
I'm a lifelong learner, but I learn slow.
And my brain goes really fast. And so the books, like they almost slow me down a little, if that makes sense, right? Because it's like I've just got one path versus everything happening at onst. So you asking me 3 favorite resources is
it's huge. That's hard.
It took a minute for me to figure it out. Over time, I think that a couple of books that have made a massive difference for me is number 1, Goals by Brian Tracy. It's all about, with him, it's really about clarity and about simple action to move forward with what you want. And in all honesty, if you have clarity and baby steps, you literally have 100% success rate, right? That's
like a crane.
Yes.
Right. There's strength in those power steps. Yes.
But you are it's constant forward motion. And if you have clarity to where you're going, I think a lot of times we're so busy and we're moving and we're doing stuff, but we're not doing the right stuff, or we don't have the clarity of where we are actually, what our destination is.
I stopped saying I am busy when I heard the quote. This is, I was 22, I think, at the time. Busy is broke. And I looked out and I saw it in like every capacity, every way it could be. I was like, whoa, like that just leaves you so broken to be the one who feels like you're busy and like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So that's one, right? So that was, I've read that multiple times over the years, just because the lessons.
Because you can read books like that. Got it.
Right. Yeah. Right. I go through them pretty quickly. And then another one, that was kind of life-changing for me as well, that I've read probably even more so, is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And, I kind of think, so I'm an operations nerd, right? Like I love the back end of the business. And I almost feel like that is kind of like your subconscious brain, right? The operations, the systems, the team delegation, the things that you put and the things that happen in the background that just, using your subconscious mind is, I bet you this morning when you got dressed this morning, you go through the same routine every morning, right? You brush your teeth and then you get in the
Most
shower.
people
And when
do.
you get out of
I'm
the
a weird,
shower, right? Like
I'm
it's
the weird exception, but yes, that
oh.
is what most people do things.
For the most part. Or if you're driving somewhere, right? You're driving the kids to school and you don't even remember how you got there, but you made it safely. Everybody's good. But you were thinking about other things while you were doing those, right?
Yeah.
So that's your subconscious mind that you have programmed that path to school or that morning routine into your subconscious mind, so you can do it on autopilot, and then you can be thinking about other stuff. I can listen to my books, I can do other things while I'm doing that. And so that's what I, with business, that's what I'm wanting to do with operations, right? And so that to me is so powerful, in that
It is.
the systems in the background, that's where the freedom comes in to go do other things, because everything is happening as it should, when it should.
Yep.
And it's all working for you in the background. So
That's right.
that's something that I read that book years and years ago, and I think I've incorporated that
Yeah.
into
So well.
my everyday.
So well. It's so easy to see. I mean, just from reading that many books too. You combine that with the power of atomic habits, right?
Yeah.
Like those two books and concepts, like whoa. And we all prioritize different subconscious things. Yesterday, I announced on the podcast. I said, "Welcome to the No Pants Podcast." We'll leave that where it's at. But you once again, you highlighted the reality. We're all different with what we subconsciously need to be ready for our day, or need to have in place in order to feel an essence of peace, and also in order to progress with that clarity that Brian Tracy talks about. So, yeah, what's the next one? These are great.
The next book for me is more recent. It's Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. So
I like Dan.
yeah, and Buy Back Your Time, it's just, I with operations is not a fun topic.
Do you know Dan?
I don't. Do you know Dan?
I do. Dan was a client of Video Power Marketing, and I came in to do for Video Power what Dan does, without knowing that, right? Without knowing him. I mean, I didn't know too well what I was doing, and I told Jake that. But we were the video ad experts of the world. That's what we were titled by Ryan Dice of Digital Marketer. So Video Power Marketing is amazing. And Jake's like, I got this client named Dan Martell of SaaS Academy, and he's an incredible coach. And he gave us his $2,000 operations playbook. Jackson, why don't you use that to help us build our infrastructure? So I went into his infrastructure programs, was like, wow, this is really helpful, and started to build on it and then optimize it from there and move beyond. But I'm watching a video of Dan Martell one day, on YouTube, because I got super addicted to his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife is watching me watch this in the kitchen. She goes, "Is that you?" She's like, not look where, she's like, he talks exactly like you, like about everything. And we were eerily like similar vibes back then. It was really, but yes, he's a huge influencer. And I got to meet him in a mastermind session a year and a half ago. I asked him a question about scale, and it was really neat to get to catch up with him, since I've shadowed him from a tiny, like very close distance for a very long time. So yeah, yes, that is a great book.
Like I've met a few authors over the years, right? Like books are just my thing, and authors to me are like the rock stars of like my geek world, right? And so I'm fangirling. I think that's just.
Well, I'll get you one more then. Another friend of mine is Michael Tracy. That's Brian's son. Do you know him?
Yeah.
You do know him. Oh, I was going to introduce you. You already got that.
Of him. I do not know him.
I'd be happy to introduce you.
I would love that.
Michael is an amazing sales trainer as well. Totally different than his father and how he does things. But his stage performance and teaching people about sales, man, it was so good. And he's a nurturer. He's a great guy. So yeah, that's
very cool. Yes.
And everybody's listening, Vision Pros, if you want to be introduced to one of these people, one of the people who've been on our show as well, don't hesitate to ask, right? These people are mentors. Mentors love to mentor. They love to teach. They like to meet people. They like to help people establish bigger legacies and beyond. So that's fun that you mentioned both of those people.
Yeah. So cool. Yes. So, and Dan, his book is just so uh, timely, and just the practical. I think there's so much theory, right? Like, people don't love operations. They don't love systems. They usually find better things to do, right? Because there's big, flashy, sexy, double your sales in the next 2 days type
Lies.
flashy, like,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
flashy nights happening, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so we've got a lot of
Cocaine
that.
addicts. I mean, conversion addicts. Conversions. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Right. And so I call it bro marketing, right? It's that in
Yeah.
your face, like, you got
Totally bro
this,
marketing.
go for it. Right. And
Wear my
it's that,
sunglasses. Yep.
right. And so, but operations is not, it's the, it's the unfun stuff. It's the stuff that people find. And I think it's probably, for me, I love it. Right. And I think it probably has the potential to have one of the biggest impacts on your business and your life and your sanity and your stress levels and all of the, and your profits and your client satisfaction. All of those things are all tied in there. And so I think Dan in this book just does a really, really good job of giving you uh, practical guidance on literally how can you implement these
Yeah.
processes, and how can you put these systems into place, and what do you do first and what do you do second, and all of that. And so that, to me, I loved it.
Keep going, because this is Dan's greatest recommendation to me. He referred a book to me. He said, "This is my Bible of business." Right?
What is it?
It's Hiring on Purpose. So
All
from
right, I
Dan
get a
to
new
you,
one.
from Dan to you. There you go.
All right.
That is one of his favorite books.
All right, I'm
Um,
writing it down.
and you said think. You were being very humble. I'm going to take that to the next level and say the processes are the key. Like these boring things, so to speak, the fundamentals. I mean, I grew up in San Antonio. I watched Tim Duncan and the Spurs create a dynasty with a small budget, and it was the operations. It's the fundamentals. It's the sticking to the basics and mastering those. It leads me to a question though, and it's a pointed question, leading question. Why are women better integrators, Traci? Why? What is it about women? Because I see this a lot. Now, I'm not saying all women are, but I have met so many women who prioritize systems and who appreciate order and balance more than the sloppy man cave. Right? What is it that makes you so amazing at operations?
Good question. I think it's probably twofold. Number one, I think that women are just community oriented in general. And so we're excellent connectors, excellent communicators. And so with integrators, it's bringing the team together to get things done. And so it's really working with people to make that happen versus solo doing it alone, which I think is
Yeah.
right, is more male. And
Right.
in all honesty, I think for women, because we have so much on our plates, it's a necessity. Like, we have to be good at it because we don't say no, right? We have to take care of everyone else.
People
And
pleasers.
so, and we have to figure out a way to do it all, right? So by putting systems, by putting structures, by getting team involved, by coordinating everybody else, we're actually able to do a heck of a lot more than we would on our own.
Yep. And I don't mean to put you on the spot of being the feminist who runs with this. I totally teed it up, and I get that. And I do, because I appreciate how good women are at integrating, and they make great, for me, it's to, especially the moms, they are great managers. They're phenomenal. It's so sad to me how many moms out there, when they want to get back in the workforce, feel like they're not qualified, that they don't have the experience, and they lack the confidence in that case. That's the only little thing that's missing, because they just spent 20 years, dealing with insubordinate team members. Team members who will tell you, "I hate you, mom.
Negotiation skills are right.
You can't
Right.
fire that child. You don't have any
Right.
desire to either. You learn to overcome those realities." And that is management at the absolute highest levels. So I'm a big fan of, you should just put a man and a woman working in a business next to each other and just watch what unfolds for their 2 day of work. And it's like, oh my gosh, she got a month's worth done,
Yeah.
while he stubbornly did whatever he did with his stuff. So different skill sets, different priorities exist there, but you are that coveted integrator that so many business owners don't even know they need, and don't even know they're looking for. And it's an
They don't.
opportunity for us to open our eyes.
Yeah. I've been a integrator is the term that I use now. I've been a project manager for 25 plus years. And I have found a lot of business owners, especially virtual, who I say I'm a project manager and they don't know what that
No, they don't.
means.
They should. They need to.
They should. And I think, and I love that the integrator term has become so available and visible.
Yes. Thank you, Gina.
Now, because yes, EOS. And so I think that it is becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh yeah. No,
right?
it's not only, I would agree with that. Most of my guests, I've heard the term EOS from so many people over the last year and a half. Never
Yep.
heard it once before that. Right. Didn't hear a lot of people talking about it. And yeah, it's going to be so helpful for brands to create that stability if they really dive into it. It's one of the greatest things that's missing. So project manager, ass kicker. I understand why integrator made it over the one I mentioned, but that is so vital to a company's success, having somebody who can drive the ship forward that's not just you, and be that second witness and create that triad. The better book, in my opinion, on that is actually Tribal Leadership. And of course the E-Myth, the foundation of the Rocket Fuel book. But those are all really helpful resources. And those of you listening in, whether you're like, I don't want to go read those books, that's why you want to go talk to Traci. Saying, like, that's why you want to meet with the people who can do that stuff for you. We live in a world where you can add more to your life in a good way, like good aspects that can actually help take away some of the stress and some of the anxiety. So you're adding the right things and subtracting the wrong things, and it helps balance your life and ensure that you can pull your vision off and make it happen. So we're going to have to cut to a little break. We'll come right back. We'll be talking about Traci's vision as soon as we come back. And everybody be excited, and tell your friends to come join us. All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. I'm really excited to have Traci Bermingham on the show. We already nerded out so much to start the show off because we both understand the value of what she does as an integrator, as somebody who builds alignment for companies to be able to succeed. And we're going to be talking about taking our brands from a hot mess to a hell yes. And the books that we recommended and talked about, I'm an Audible guy. I like to listen to things and go on walks at the same time, and pause and reflect on things. She reads like lightning. It's just amazing how fast. She says 3 to 4 books a week. So if you're in that boat and can do that, I know you're probably going to be besties. If you're not, then that's the type of person, again, you want to be working with, because they're going to conquer the world with goodness in this case, in so many great ways. So I'll bring her on stage in just a minute. We're going to talk about some other resources for you while you're here. One is the Law Spot with Melissa Gray. When I saw that I had a lawyer coming onto my show, she did a pre-show with somebody else. I was like, oh no, I don't want to talk to a lawyer. Lawyers are pretentious. They condescend at you. They make you feel stupid. I could not have been farther from the truth with Melissa. She understands the law doesn't have to be complicated. And she came on with this nurturing mindset. She's also got the ability to just do all the right things to represent you as a brand and have the hard conversations. Great listener. Didn't showboat. She rows the boat. She makes sure that things move forward. And I'm talking from an experience of running a startup where we won a $20,000 trademark lawsuit. But did we? When we spent $20,000 protecting a brand we already owned? Apple patented one of my softwares. And it was Adam built it at Restaurant Connect. When they patented it, we had a 4-hour freak out session of what the heck do we do? And those types of realities, they put you in a position where if you don't have supply and demand in your favor, Meaning, if you haven't done your due diligence to find the right type of attorney to represent you, somebody you like, somebody's price point you agree with and beyond, you end up in a position where you're not a wise steward and you end up making not so great decisions. My hope is that you protect yourself sooner than I did in entrepreneurship, and consider her in your options of interviewing different law opportunities out there. Then there's Andrew Sosin with Recovery Unplugged. He is not a client of ours. He is not somebody that works with us. I was just so impressed with what he's built and know the value of it, especially for people who don't want to listen to this part of the message. And that is addiction. Addiction runs rampant in our society. So many people hide from their best selves, their purpose, their passion. They don't realize it. They're hiding in apps. He says drugs and alcohol on the screen, of course, because that's the biggest concerns that are probably out there. But whether it is drugs or alcohol, whether it's pornography, whether it is cigarettes, whether it is, again, apps, Netflix, ESPN and sports. ESPN and sports, Netflix, those aren't bad things, but when we're consuming it to replace our life, so to speak, it might be time to seek professional help. And go and call somebody and see what can you receive. They used to be located in several locations throughout the United States. They still are. They have over 400 employees, but they also have a 24/7 hotline and a virtual program. Ever since COVID came out, silver lining is some of these types of companies that are providing movements that change the world are now available online. If this blesses even one person who's listening into this right now, I am going to be so happy for you. And I'm grateful that I took the time to talk about him. Now, if you don't like Tony Robbins, you won't probably like his program. I will say that. If you do like Tony Robbins, Andrew has gone 22 years in a row to the Tony Robbins program and brought over 1,000 people with him to that. I say that because when we're guilty by association, right, we're guilty for good and guilty for bad. I think it's awesome how much time he's dedicated to learning under that mentor, because I happen to be a big fan myself. And moving in one step further to the water project. I do not have my water bottle on me. And at the same time, I get to the good fortune of just walking to my kitchen to get access to water, as do most of us. There are millions of people in the world who do not have access to clean drinking water. And whether it's their kids having to leave school to go get water from an unknown source, or the parents or the grandparents having to leave work, the devastating effects that would have on the economy, I'm sure at this point you can start imagining what that would be like for your lives. And we have the opportunity to give back thanks to the water project. The cool thing about it is it's like a Kickstarter project or a crowdfunding. If you donate to one of the specific causes, you get to see the outcome of what it is you help fund, whether that's a sand dam or a borehole well. It's really cool to kind of learn about the process of what they're creating out there. And maybe the economy has you in a position to where you just can't donate or give to that, and that's okay. My request for you is, share this with somebody who might be able to. You never know how much they'll be willing to contribute. In addition to that, if you have a cause that's greater on your heart, maybe it's a crowdfunding for a family member, maybe it's some other big cause that's happening in the world, then please share it. Just comment on it for us so we can take a look at that. We might feature it here on the show as well. There's 8 billion people in this world to help. And when we come together, we can make a massive impact. And so I hope that inspires some of you to do the same. Without further ado, I'm going to bring Traci back on stage. We're going to dive right into her vision and find out more about Goldie.com, her website. You'll see that in the show notes, and taking businesses to new heights of alignment so they get out of their hot mess and right into their hell yes. Traci, welcome to Vision Pros Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So we got the concept of hot mess to the hell yes. And in addition to that, what is your vision for those you serve? What does that look like?
It's kind of interesting. So my company name is Goldie, Goal. It's about goals, right? And to me, I don't believe that I can tell you what your goals should be or what you want to do. So
what a breath of fresh air.
Right. And so, but that being said, I know how to help you get wherever you're going. And so for me, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are stressed out. They haven't taken a vacation for 10 years because their business is a hot mess, and they're missing time with their kids and with their families, or they want to start a family, or they want to make a bigger impact on the world, but they can't because there's not enough hours in the day because they're so stuck in bottlenecks and dropped balls and all of the fire drills that are happening, that they can't actually get out there to do what they were meant to do. And so for me, it's really helping people. My vision is what, and I believe it ebbs and flows. I don't even believe that this is a set point that anybody has, because life changes and we go through different phases. And, you know, I've got 4 little boys. And so when they were babies and toddlers, it was a completely different phase that now that they're,
Totally.
you know, they're 8 to 13 now, right? So it's a completely different phase of my life. And so I feel like my goals have shifted. So that's a
Absolutely. I
long-winded
get that.
way to say, I want what my clients want out of their lives. Like, that is my goal, is to help them do what they want, when they want, with whomever they want, and having the freedom to choose what they want to do with their lives and then go do that. And then if and when that changes, we'll just rearrange things and we'll keep going. But it's really about, I don't think that business and quote life should be separate. I think it's all the same, and you should be happy with all of it. And so if you're not happy, let's make some changes and make some shifts in order to help you to do that.
I love that. It's something that people try so hard to separate. You know, and usually, you know, when there's that much resistance where it's kind of impossible to do something, it's usually a healthy boundary telling you, you know, like, maybe I'm going about this the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, if you love what you do as well, you know, then one, you're not scared of the hard work, because the hard work's enjoyable. You know, the basketball players love the fourth quarter. So do football players, you know, like that's what they live for. And so it's not, the hard work's not the challenge. Appreciating what we do might be, or finding something that we love can be a part of that. You mentioned some people delaying their family, you know, and it's pretty easy to start a family. You know, we're not going to talk about how to do that, you know, from a podcast standpoint, but it's pretty easy to make that happen. What I hear somebody say when they say that, looking back at my years of wisdom through failure in different aspects, you know, I'm twice divorced. So I've got my fair share of failures. I've had businesses that have collapsed. Right. And if I were to look back at my if I look at my friends like that, I can't tell them what to do, but I can say, I have a feeling most of those people have this inner instinct that's telling them, I need processes, right? I need more order in my life in order to want to do this parenting thing.
I need to feel more secure and stable.
Yes.
And
so you're hitting that right in the head. Those things don't separate. You know, not in many cases. Not in my case. I'm with you on that. I think a lot of people are. What's your vision for you? What do you see for yourself on the horizon?
It's the same. It's the same. So it's,
well, let's dive in a little bit though. So you're right. Cause I love that you talked about the shift of goals. 100%. My 3 kids were 3, 5, and 9. You know, our life was utter chaos. You know, like we were constantly picking up toys, calming noise. You know, somebody's always sick or having a challenge with their life. I didn't have time to be a podcaster. You know, I didn't have the ability to finish. I was going through a divorce. It wasn't the time for me to go on stage and talk about my book. You know, and to figure out how things were going to come out. There was a different season. You know, when the kids got older, again, the goals shift and the opportunities in life shift if you're paying attention to it. So I'm just kind of curious on your horizon. What does that same represent for you? What does
that look like? Right. So for me, it's the same, right? I want to do what I want, when I want, with whomever I want. And for me right now, what that is I would like to write a book. So I have the outline together. So that's within the next month or so, I'll get moving on that. It's really about, I want to do a little bit less one-on-one client work. And move into more, my business alignment method is actually helping to, it's a guided implementation. So by the end of working with us, you actually have an aligned business on the back end. And I really want to work with life-changing, right? Like that to me is just life-changing. And I think it's so cool. And, you know, my, as far as my kids and my family go, it's really just, they're getting to be really fun, right? Yes. You know, like when they're toddlers.
I hear you. I agree 100%.
Right?
How old are your kids right now?
They are 13, 11, 9, and 8.
Yes.
All boys.
I got the 12, 10, 8, and 3. So yes, it is a totally different shift.
Yes. And so they're so fun right now. So I just want to, I laugh with my husband sometimes because, you know, my oldest we've got 4 or 5 years with him until he's 18 and he's out. And I have these, it's not a panic attack, but it's like
Oh, I get it.
we got to make memories. Okay, what are we going to do? What we got to, right? Like we got to fit it all in. We don't have that much time.
Right.
It's already gone by so fast that I want
And
to.
they start doing sports and they start going to more birthday parties. And it's just like, whoa, now the last years are getting shredded into bits and pieces. So, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And so I really want to be present for this time in our lives, in our family, in everything. And so I think it's just shifting a little bit about where my focus has been for the last decade or two, and shifting it kind of just different priorities, or maybe not. Um, it was, it's the want versus the need.
Yeah.
I think for me, right? I've needed to be right
Mm.
when the boys are little. You need to feed them. You
Right.
have to sit down and feed them in a
Right.
chair, right? Like you
Mhm.
have to give them a bath at night. Those, you need to do those things, right?
Yeah.
And so, and same with business. I feel like I've been kind of in that space, and now it's moving into the want of,
Nice.
I want to write a book. I want to share with a bigger audience than my one-to-one
I'm glad
connections
you
I've been
mentioned that.
making.
I'm super glad you mentioned that about the needs and the wants, because one, I've kind of moved towards the Eastern culture philosophies of never using the word need, you know, and not using the words have to, but realizing the privilege of get to. But when you are a parent of young children, those essential aspects of life, it becomes part of your process and part of your vocabulary to say have to, need to,
Yep.
obligation this, obligation that. And it can be so overwhelming with multiple kids too, that you start to, it's not enjoyable in many occasions. You know, occasions
It's
like,
work.
dang it, you know,
Yeah.
like bath time's supposed to be as fun as Coco Melon, but it's just not.
And I'm
So
exhausted. Yeah.
anyway, all the
Yeah.
non-parents, I've just completely, they're like, shut up about the parent life and family life. No, like that's part of our life. So,
Yep.
all right. So I will dive into a subject that I'm really curious about your wisdom on. Um, why do leaders hide from funding their vision? You know, what there's so many that don't invest, that are worried about launching. Maybe they go 30 years and never end up launching that company, for instance. But maybe they have launched their company and they are spending $100 here and $100 there, you know, hoping to move an entire mountain or create a bridge that's sustainable. Why do you think some leaders out there won't fund their vision?
Fear.
Fear of what?
Fear. It's that fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown, fear, can I handle it? Can I do it? You know, I think we talked earlier about women, especially. We undervalue ourselves. I know I have. And it's only been since I actually figured out my worth and my value that, isn't it amazing that things just
I'm happy for you, because it is
thank
so
you.
there. It is so there, Tracy.
Thank
If I
you.
could just help everybody on earth feel that
Figure
and to
that out.
see that, because we need that as a society. Yeah, you're amazing, and you are amazing on a new level. So that's there. So thank you. So that part, I'm going to ask the second follow-up question then, because I think you have some answers to this. Then how do leaders learn to lean into funding their vision?
It's a great question. I think it's twofold again. I think that it's mindset, and it's actually addressing, you know, we talked about subconscious mind earlier. And if you have faulty wiring, and if you have beliefs or patterns, I see this a lot, right? Business owners are miserable in their businesses, and yet they still do the same things over and over and over again. And a lot of times it's belief patterns. A lot of times it's just the habits are because of the beliefs, right? If you're backtracking. And so it's really cleaning that up. And I think that cleaning that for me, it was, I always was trying to get to just be enough, right? but all I had to do was just choose to be even more than enough. Right. And you just have to choose, but it takes a minute to get there. And then I think it's the mindset that the second you shift your mindset, the world looks completely different and you're able to move faster than you ever thought possible. And so I think that that's one piece. I also think that kind of the second piece of that, what I know is that sometimes when you're not ready, you're not ready. And that's okay. But that doesn't mean that you have to leap from here to across the ocean, right? It could be that you just take a baby step and you just continue to take the baby steps that maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable, but all right, I'll go make that cold call, or I'll go, whatever that thing is that's scaring you. I'll start small and move forward. And I think that will help you as well to shift the mindset also, as well as gain the confidence that you need to be able to then that big leap across the ocean doesn't seem so big anymore because you're closer to where you're going.
Excuse me. Absolutely. And I think another aspect on that, for those of you who don't have that community aspect, that support, that can be a very, very hard reality too, because you make a change. And if you live in a community that isn't making positive changes, then that community will tear you back down oftentimes. And they'll say, well, why can you do that? Nobody's ever done that before. You can't get out of this. And that comes in many forms, sometimes aggressive, sometimes passive, and sometimes quiet, like, oh, I didn't think you would make it either. There's little things that can really destroy our desires to move towards those goals. So the other opportunity I would say to add to what was just said is making sure that connecting with friends, finding people who are going to uplift and believe in your ability to do great things. And that's not easy to do, but it is one of those near essential components of success. I haven't seen anybody get to success without community support. There's people who claim it. I've never seen it before. There's always people along the path and journey. So
Agreed.
Thank you for that. Those are great aspects. And again, there's a lot of you visionaries listening in may not even realize you're a visionary. You may not even have accepted that yet. And yet you have an amazing vision, but perhaps it's been shut down by existing audiences in your life. And there are people who want to see you succeed that also don't even need to be paid for it. Find people who will support you without wanting something in return for it. That's also really, really helpful. So thanks for diving in on that, Traci. We're going to hit a dark subject. So on the dark subject, what is the worst leadership experience you've ever had?
Oh, geez. So I don't think these are dark. I don't think this is a dark question. I think this is probably where I've learned the most. Right. That's the thing. I think, so I worked in San Francisco. I worked corporate and I worked with the big companies. I was a consultant. So I worked for Visa and Charles Schwab and Del Monte Foods and Williams Sonoma and helped them to launch these just massive projects into the world. And I worked with Del Monte Foods pretty consistently over the years. And when I came in, and this was, I don't know, 20 years ago now, 15 years ago, I'm kind of dating myself. But it was a while ago. And when I came into Del Monte, their Del Monte is fruit cups and veggie, right? Fruits and veggies and everything. And the process just made sense to me on how, I basically would take an idea that they had and I would lead the team to make it a reality. And literally some of the products, is pretty cool, are still on the shelves today that I created years ago.
Awesome.
And so I was a consultant for them. I had, some team members that were working within my business for them. And I brought in someone to, I thought, be another me. And I just assumed that he would come in and he would get it just like I got it. And that he would be able to just take it and go. Like, and it was a colossal disaster. Like, it wasn't what I thought was common sense, was not indeed common sense. And the project ended up, I had to let him go and completely take over and catch up, because we were now a couple of months behind by the time we got it sorted. But it was one of those things where, my learning experience, or my failure in that aspect, was that I wasn't a leader for him. I didn't
Mm.
train him like I should have trained him. I didn't guide him. I was so busy on my side. That's why I brought him in, thinking he's just like me. He gets it.
Yeah.
He'll just be able to take over and be a clone of
Right.
me. And that's still, to this date, I have not found my clone. And I think that it's just, that was such a learning experience for me in just being a leader, being a delegator, and actually giving my team what they need to succeed. And I didn't do that at that point in time. So I think that for me was one of my biggest, it was a big ouch. And it was I had to go clean up a really big mess.
It reminds me a lot of the book, The E-Myth, which is what teaches about all entrepreneurs going through that same experience. Visionaries who, hopefully the next generation, those listening, they're getting started, will hear that, go read it, learn from this experience, and see what they can do to avoid hiring a unicorn, or a supposed unicorn, right? And realizing, whoa, these people don't just magically understand exactly how we do things or what we do. I mean, I've been there many times myself. And we're a work in progress on it. But I love that you said, it's not a dark aspect, right? They're learning opportunities, and new light switches turn on because of it.
Yeah.
So what is your best leadership experience ever?
So this one, I was thinking about it, and it's not really business related, actually, but
Even better.
yeah. So when I was in high school, I used to work with the special ed kids, and work in that area. And at lunchtime one day, one of the special needs children was there was a circle of kids around him laughing, and they were laughing at him, not with him. And he was performing, for lack of a better word, and they were laughing at him. And I just kind of walked up in the middle of the circle, just walked up and said, "Hey, come on, come sit. Let's go have some lunch." Just got him out of the situation and moved him. I didn't think anything of it. And then the next day I was part of a speech class in school. And the next day, one of the kids in the speech class got up and gave a speech about how that moved him to make changes, because I was willing to go and I didn't think right. I felt like it was my responsibility, because I knew the kid. I needed to protect him and, bring him over, and I needed to do that. So it wasn't necessarily a thoughtful thing that I did, or an example that I was trying to create. And yet I made a difference in someone else's view, that he was talking about how that changed his perspective and how he needs to step up in future and make some changes. So
Wow.
that was a long time ago. And I still think that that's
Profound.
probably one of the coolest things that I've ever come across.
That's amazing. That is so cool. And that you got to see the ripple effect, right? That you had, like, that's so helpful with us. Like when we get to see the ripple effect of the good that we do,
Yeah.
and that kid's life, the trajectory, of change that created, is just, oh my goodness. And you just had another one on me, by the way. In that I'm sitting here analyzing you, right? As I ask these questions, and I'm like, okay, special education, that's where a lot of your patience and order and, the needs. And then I realized, as I was thinking about it, I was like, wait a second. When we're learning patience with special education or individuals that we don't relate to, we're not learning patience with them or because of them. We're learning patience within ourselves, and how to show up for people. It isn't nothing to do with the external. And I hadn't thought about that before you shared that story. That's going to have a profound impact on my ability to understand, like, okay, when I'm in a situation where it's a culture that I'm unfamiliar with, or somebody who has a disability that I'm not familiar with, I got to reflect on, if I reflect on what I can do to show up better in that situation rather than focus on the difference that exists, I will probably become a better communicator in that circumstance. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I love hearing that. And I think, for all of us, we we are all who we are exactly as we are. And I try as much as possible to just accept where we're at. Right.
Yeah.
And so both
Right.
you
Namaste.
and me, right? Let's meet where we're at. And that doesn't mean that we're not growing and not, working towards
Mhm.
being better, doing better, experiencing more, all of those things. But we are where we are. And so I try to accept that and where you want to go. Let's talk about that too. And let me help you get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really want to hit that, but I know we're running out of time. So I want to move into the most important question, in my opinion, which is, if this were your absolute last chance to share a powerful lesson with other visionaries, what powerful lesson can other visionaries learn from your experience?
Uh, Choose. That's it. Choose and go for it. Right? It's all in. We were talking about fear and worry and self doubt and worth and all of those things. And none of it matters. None of it matters. Choose what you want. And that can change. It is so okay if it changes. Right? Like
Yes.
that, it can change from day to day.
You're not going to get to Starbucks in a straight line. It ain't going to happen.
Exactly.
Point A to point B, but there are walls in between. There are stops. Yes, you can change.
Yes, of course. And you should change, right? Like you now know you have more information today than you did yesterday or 10 years from now. So of course your choices would be different. And so I think that, a lot of people just sit kind of for years in that wishy-washy space of, I don't know, maybe, is this the right way to go? You talk about uh, funding your dreams or investing in yourself or finding that community or whatever that may be. Choose it and then go find the people, go get the support, go invest in yourself so that you can do what you are, quote, supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I hope I hope some of you visionaries out there love it too, and implement that. And also, I invite you to take the time to express gratitude. To the leaders who give you those types of wisdoms of nuggets of wisdoms of nuggets. Yeah, let's
Either or.
reflex like this. So if there's anything that has come out of what Traci shared, something that you can apply to your life. The other neat thing is, just by sharing that, you never know who else is listening. That's like, oh, I learned that too, but I didn't write it down. And like now they write it down. Like the ripple effect of expressing gratitude, of learning, is contagious. So we've got just a few minutes left. We're actually over. But at the same time, I want to give you a chance to talk about taking our brands from a hot mess to a hell yes. Like if there's any final subjects you want to talk about, you have a few minutes. Feel free. I just want to give you the time to dive in whatever direction you want with that.
Thank you. Yes. So I have a program called the Business Alignment Method, and it is taking businesses from hot mess to hell yes. And what that means is, your freedom is in the systems. So I think we think that someday, if we work hard enough and we do all of it, someday we're going to magically just get there. But the truth is you got to build it in. It's not magic, it's actually systems. And so with this alignment method, what my team actually does is we will help you to sort through all of the knots and the tangles and the hot mess that you've got going on. And a lot of us are embarrassed by how bad we've let it get. Again, it's meeting you where you are. It's okay.
Right.
Like there's no judgment. It is what it is. And so let's choose to do it differently from here on out. And so we help you to actually just put those systems and those structures in place. We help you to delegate and delegate effectively so that it actually gets done how you want it to get done. And it's efficient and it's clean and it's simple. And you can just take a breath of fresh air because now you have some free time. So now you can either take that vacation or start that family, or you can decide that you want to create a new income stream and you've got this great idea, but now you actually have the time to go implement it and make a bigger impact, bigger financial freedom, all the things. And that's what I want to help create. And so that's what we do. And I would love to support you in that.
That's amazing. And to be able to create the safe space for that is amazing. And, even if entrepreneurs, you want to find that, visionaries, you want to find that somebody who can help and appreciate, because that's what enjoying the journey is all about. Right. Is realizing, no, like we're in the desert right now and we want to get to San Diego. Been through that. And that's like, it's okay. You can still enjoy that process. In fact, in the desert of Mexico, our van broke down. I was pretty little. And us as kids, we pulled the soccer balls out and we're on the side of the road just playing soccer while we're waiting for maintenance to come and fix it. Like, I remember that memory fondly, probably much more fondly than the adults who were in that situation. Yep. But my point with that is, if you can learn to appreciate the mess that you're in, while also understanding that when you create order, you create a straighter path towards victory. That's fantastic. We got somebody like Traci who's willing to help you on that without judgment. It empowers you to know that, wow, okay, like we can do this and I don't have to cry about it. I don't have to feel bad while I'm moving towards it. I'm not guilty of something, right? That's super helpful. Quick story on that. My dad had a bad tooth. My sister was in dental hygiene school and she said, swore up and down, no, like I'm gonna look at it. Like, don't worry. He's like, no, like I'm embarrassed. Like it looks bad. And she's like, I'm a professional. I won't react. It'll be just fine, And so finally, after like 5 minutes of coercion, he opens his mouth and she goes, oh my gosh. I was dying of laughter. It's like she blew it. She's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Caught her off guard big time. And he survived the moment.
And And it all turned out just fine. Yes.
Yes, it did. It turned out just fine. And so sometimes you might surprise somebody that's an expert even. But it was a short-lived reality and she was still there to nurture. And I don't see Traci doing that in relation to your brand. I think you're in pretty safe hands, probably even better hands than my sister, who's amazing. But with that said, visionaries who are listening in, we'll have action steps in the links below so you can know what actions you might want to take next with Traci and her brand Goaldi, Goaldi. In addition to that, in the top right corner, there's an invitation from us to you. Be our guest. Click on Be Our Guest. You can see what it's like to be a guest of this podcast. If you have a vision where you're serving others, whether it's a vision that's come to fruition, a big one. I keep using Elon Musk because biggest vision in the world always comes to mind, right? That's cool. And if you're Elon Smith and nobody knows who you are and you've got a vision where you want to help people, apply. Come jump on the stage. Come talk about it. Let's bring it to fruition. Let's honor what you're striving to build. And Elon, Musk, you're always welcome to come on the show too. We'd love to have you. So with that said, everybody have a fantastic rest of your day. Traci, thank you so much for joining me today. This is amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent